Well, it's been an incredible week. So much has happened. There's a handful of things I want to share with you about my journey, some real breakthrough moments. But before we get into that, my name's Ian, and thank you so much for joining me, walking alongside me on my journey to remembering who I really am. So where do I want to start? So one of my big themes at the moment is feeling limited and trapped. So to set some background on this, I quit my job in June, the end of June. I had no more work, and I've taken the summer to work on my spiritual journey and to figure out what was next for me in terms of what I'm actually being led to do, which, it's easy to say what you don't want to do, I think. Much harder for me, certainly, to be confident in what I actually do want. I think that's a big question, isn't it? Like, what do you really want? So I've, bought myself some time and space to really think about that over the summer. It's gone on a bit longer than planned. And now, I'm starting to feel that pressure of needing to find work. The savings are going to be running out soon, and I need a plan. So I was really, in the same way that I trusted my intuition with quitting my job without a plan, I was really trusting my intuition, thinking, oh, well, if it's so strong what I'm not going to do, then maybe I'll get a strong feeling for what I really should do. I had some ideas, working on some creative projects of my own, such as this, which we'll come to later. Or also, working for a charity. I worked in finance for, best part of 20 years, and I wanted to put my skills to what I feel is better use, where they'll be more appreciated and needed, maybe. So those were my ideas, but I wasn't strongly attached to them. Wasn't really clear on whether that's what I'm meant to be doing. I really felt like I was meant for more than what I was doing at my old job. And I thought that it would become clear to me over summer. I would get some divine guidance as to what that is. So that's some of the backstory. And what happened last week is, it's got to the point where, like, it feels like I've kind of just been waiting around for answers, and they've not been forthcoming, and I've been adding more and more pressure to myself, and felt a bit more dissatisfied with my lack of action and intent, and and it's felt like a real struggle. Felt like I'm trapped, not doing anything useful or towards kind of aligned action, and it's really got me down. So every month we have something called an Aurora gathering. I'll put a link to the site. They're all over the UK. They're based on kind of a healing retreat in the Cotswolds. That's where the Aurora gatherings, well, certainly how I found out about these Aurora gatherings. So it's like a group session where you can share your struggles, your breakthroughs, your aha moments. And I went into that really feeling like I was at a crossroads, and that's certainly been the theme for last week. I really felt strongly that I was at a crossroads, and I wasn't sure, I wasn't really ready to admit defeat and think about looking for work again. But I think it was that realization I was at a crossroads that produced the shift, to open me up to the idea of maybe getting back into work. And corporate work is easy for me to get back into. So, but it didn't necessarily feel aligned. So that was the big struggle. And I guess part of the conversation in our Aurora gathering was, about how it's all it's all within us. Everything's a mirror. I wasn't really trapped or limited. Right now I have all the free time that I need to do the things that I want to do. That's still the case. I'm not quite in financial struggle yet. So it was really about kind of that idea of being present in the now, versus kind of catastrophizing about a future that hasn't happened yet. So, and it's this perceived idea of limitation, and this is a deep kind of core wound for me. And on Thursday last week, I had a big breakthrough where I think sometimes things need to boil over. That pressure needs to build to make you really look and realize that, certainly for me, I'm my own worst enemy sometimes, to really get through that breakthrough. And I was at dinner and I really had that feeling of, oh my God, I'm so annoyed, so angry with myself. And I realized that I am the prison. And in that moment, I just burst into tears, and it's bringing a bit of emotion up now because it was quite a moment for me, a big breakthrough. I am the prison. There's nothing in my external environment that is causing me to be trapped or imprisoned in any way. If anything, I bought myself that freedom, and I'm just, even though I have it, I wasn't appreciating it because my state of mind and vibration just wasn't in that place. And I realized that I've been the prison all along. And I had a big release of emotion, and so much so that I felt it in my belly. It's been in my belly, building and building all my life probably. I felt it move up in my body, and released kind of through the compassion and understanding that I gave it. Really kind of understood how I've got here, and yeah, so that was a massive breakthrough for me. Sorry, so that was Wednesday night, actually. So we had the Aurora meeting on Wednesday, and that evening I had the big release. It was a wonderful meeting. Highly recommend Aurora gatherings. But then on Thursday and Friday, I just had this almost boundless energy. It was very freeing. It was like suddenly my higher consciousness could move more freely within me. And yeah, it was just really a hell of a turnaround from basically not doing very much with my days, to making lots of notes about what is truly aligned, and what all of this means in terms of the mirror of the external world around us, which I'll pick up on at some later point. And on that Thursday, I did some work around the gene keys. So two things became very clear. So, well, firstly, gene keys is an amazing tool, wonderful thing to explore. It's really kind of accelerated my spiritual journey an awful lot, and I'll try and make a separate video about that at some point as well, because it is not a small topic. But there were two things for me. So gene keys are basically outline behaviors and energetic frequencies, I suppose. And you get a profile of what you've kind of set up for yourself as part of your own blueprint on Earth. And two big things were very clear. So the first one for me was gene key 59 moves from dishonesty through, so you raise the frequency, you transmute that into intimacy, and then you can even transcend that further into transparency. One of the things that became clear to me on that Thursday is it's inherent within myself to be intimate, to do that sharing, to really show who I am So I dabbled with this channel and was never really fully sure it was something that I was meant to be doing. But now I fully understand it is part of my spiritual growth to be sharing my journey. You know, if not just for myself, if there's one person that resonates with this and it helps, then that would be amazing. But this is a part of my personal journey, so you know, it's something I need to do, and I think that's what I've realised this week. So that's Jinky 59. Jinky 60 talks about limitation, is the shadow frequency, so that kind of low vibrational feeling and emotion. And you move from limitation, you can transmute that higher into realism, which incorporates magic, and then you can transmute that even further into justice. And justice is still a bit of a mystery to me, really truly figuring out what that means to me. But I think my insight from this week is that limitation, Richard Rudd, the author of Gene Keys, talks about how we need structure in this physical plane for consciousness to move through. And I thought that was a really fantastic way of reframing kind of what I'm doing, instead of kind of recoiling at structure and things being fixed the way they are and broken systems and all of that. And it's easy to look at that in the world at the moment and have a real disdain for that, and there's some judgment in there. Actually reading Jinky 60 again gave me that perspective about, you know, the structure is really just the enabler for consciousness to move through it in whichever way, and it can be high frequency and low frequency energy. So it's not always necessarily the structure and the system, but kind of how it's used, how the energy moves through it. So I think those two together really gave me some kind of confidence in kind of what I'm here to do and what's more in alignment with my higher self, and what he or she or I won't let myself escape from at the moment. So again, I think that was a big breakthrough, and has given me certainly some vision that I can start moving towards building aligned actions towards. So another thing as well is that Thursday where I'd had the breakthrough, had lots of energy, creative energy. Manifestation and how manifestation works has kind of come back, presented itself to me as like an opportunity. So it's always something I've been skeptical of, and I think for me, manifestation links to limiting beliefs, and obviously my limiting belief was the fact that I feel limited or felt limited. Past tense is probably better to use at this point. So what's my point here? I made a note of all my limiting beliefs in order to try and transmute them. So this is linked to the idea of releasing those emotions that no longer serve us in our bodies. They get stored, and I think if we can do as much as we can to recognize those emotions, those limiting beliefs as they arise in us, then we can really transmute them and release them and uncreate them. So I made a list of all of my limiting beliefs. I think I got up to 20, and then I'm sure there's still more. But yeah, I worked through kind of transforming them from the limiting belief into actually what's the truth behind these statements. And that was a good exercise. And that kind of tied with the manifestation idea, really kind of got me thinking about, I made lots of notes thinking, how does this work? How can this work? So I might be slowly forming a a clear idea of how I think manifestation works, and that has continued on over the last few days as well. So the final thing that I want to talk about from last Thursday, it was a big day Thursday, but the last thing I want to talk about is I popped out to the shop, and like this idea of the world being the mirror that we need of our inner kind of well-being and state, and that came up a lot in the Aurora gathering. So on Thursday I walked out to the shop and I had this glimpse. I'll call it a glimpse. It was a feeling that everything else was in me. Everything was me. I wasn't really separate. So that idea of unity consciousness, but really had a glimpse of. So I think a van drove past and kind of I recognised it's almost like everything is just a mirror. That could have been a sign to slow down, to not be so impatient. So yeah, I think that theme has continued on kind of over the weekend that we've just come through. But yeah, it was like an out of body experience in a sense. It just, everything felt different. Like it genuinely felt like everything was inside me and there was no separation. Like this is the world that I've created, which is a really strange thing to say, but I think it gives you a glimpse that we are all one. And then on Friday we had the 1010 portal, which was very exciting. Feels like a completion portal. So 9 is the end, but 10 is like the door closing behind you and the new one opening in front of you. So really felt that. And again, a theme of the 1010 portal was kind of manifestation as well. You're about to step through the door. What is it that you want to be stepping into? And the power of us kind of co-creating our reality. So that was pretty good timing. Maybe my ideas weren't fully formed, but kept them fairly high level. But yeah, it was just a real sense of completion, and we had some validation of that over the weekend, where really felt some of the fatigue. It seems like the timing of the 1010 portal has come at the point where it felt like summer was, beginning to drag as I felt more limitation and pressure to kind of do something, and yeah, that sense of completion, but also the sense of it's been a long journey and that fatigue to get to that breakthrough moment. So yeah, that felt aligned, felt like everything had kind of come together, as it always does. So then the final thing I want to talk about is the weekend, because after the 1010 portal, thinking that kind of we got through to completion and now the world's my oyster, I had a moment on Sunday where I don't know, maybe it was I was inspired and had a lot of ideas, but I think it led to some overthinking, and it felt like in some ways I was going backwards and starting to doubt kind of some of the breakthroughs that I've had literally just the day or two before. But again, in speaking to my partner Justine, I could see that something was being mirrored back to me from her, and not only that, but looking around at kind of my boys. So I have 2 boys, and kind of the things that I was almost what's the word? Just thinking about in terms of kind of what they're up to and how their day's gone. It really felt like, again, it was almost like I got back to the glimpse, like it was just a reflection of myself and some of the things that kind of I was being made aware of, like that kind of inaction, I think, and kind of feeling like I'm not doing enough, and I can plan and plan and plan, but this physical material plane kind of really the energy exchange is based on action and taking action, messy action, and that's something I want to do more of, and hence this video is probably rough around the edges as well. So yeah, it's time for more messy action, time for kind of reinforcing my manifestations as well. Yeah, so a very big week, a massive week. I guess there's been a few weeks of struggle in the run up to that, and I think the positive is that when things feel like they're becoming more and more unbearable, it's probably a hint that a big breakthrough is coming and a big release is coming. So I'm extremely grateful for the breakthrough that I've had, for the insights that I've gained, and I'm really pleased to be sharing them with you. I hope you all have a good week.